Hello everyone, thank you so much for being with us at the beginning of the week, hoping for you a great week. You're getting informed with 36 news fully in English. I am Ricardo Acuña and the following are our top stories.
Thank you for joining us. You are watching 36 News.
Let's get the information started here. The National Emergency Commission reported around 43 cases of flooding, mainly in the Punta Arenas area. During the weekend, the cantons most affected were Montes de Oro with 14 cases, Punta Arenas with 9, Esparza with 9, Parrita with 7, and Quepos with 1. Other places also affected were San Ramon with 1 case, Golfito and Santa Barbara also with 1 case each. The National Emergency Commission set up 3 shelters to care for those who were affected. One shelter of those was set up at the community hall in El Roble, Punta Arenas, to care for those who were evacuated from their vehicles. The other shelters were in the Santa Rosa de Miramar School and at the hostel in Rio Jalandia de Punta Arenas. The National Emergencies Commission keeps the emergency committees active so that they can respectively attend to any situation that arises. The residents of Bella Vista, Santa Fe, and the Precario in Punta Arenas were affected by these Saturday's downpours and requested the help from the authorities. However, they indicated that no one has come to help them just yet. On the road between Parrita and Quepos, a bus was stuck due to the amount of water on the road. The driver didn't observe the gaps on the side of the road. Fortunately, the passengers were able to get out. The heavy rains caused the Naranjito River to overflow as well near the Miramar crossing on Route 1 between Barranca, Punta Arenas, and Miramar de Monte de Oro. The amount of water caused severe flooding where several vehicles became stranded. The Red Cross and several fire departments attended to the emergency by rescuing people trapped in their homes and these in vehicles. The road was closed from Saturday afternoon until around noon on Sunday. The Ministry of Public Works and Transportation also closed the road between Quepos and Parrita. For its part, the National Emergency Commission reported 43 incidents, as I mentioned before, due to the floods, especially in Monte de Oro, Punta Arenas, Esparza, and Parrita, where they were most affected. The respective emergency committees are still active attending to the incidents reported. And so with this, we are going to go now with the weather information. Unstable conditions are expected for the beginning of this week because the Intertropical Convergence Zone remains over the country. This system, together with a high humidity content in the region, will maintain a rainy outlook for Costa Rica. For the next couple of days, expect more intense rain with the possibility of thunderstorms during the afternoon hours and into the evening hours on the Pacific side and in the North Pacific and Central Pacific regions. The probability of rain is high. The South Pacific will present similar conditions, however, in a more dispersed manner. In the Central Valley, expect intense rain as well. Showers and storms are forecasted for the northern zone, while for the Caribbean, rain is expected towards the mountainous sectors during the afternoons and into the evening hours. And during the weekend, thousands of people in Costa Rica viewed the annular solar eclipse that occurred on Saturday. The astronomical event began at 10:30 a.m. and reached its climax around noon. Prior to this event, experts from the University of Costa Rica said that 80% of the eclipse could be seen in the Central Valley, while 90% could be seen in the Caribbean. That is why hundreds of people visited the province of Limón and places like Agüita and Puerto Viejo. In the planetarium of the University of Costa Rica, in its different locations, activities were also carried out to view the eclipse. According to the experts, a phenomenon similar to this past Saturday may not be seen again until the year 2052. And with pink hallways, mammography campaign, workshops, and an entrepreneur fair, The Enrique Baltodano Briceño Hospital in Liberia commemorated the International Day to fight breast cancer. One of the women who joined the activities was Georgina Brenes, who is a breast cancer survivor. The patients of the oncology unit had a spa day thanks to the donations made by the medical center officials and other businesses who supported the initiative. The activities were organized by the chemotherapy unit and the oncology department at the Liberia Hospital. If you make payments in dollars or receive your salary in dollars, pay close attention since the currency exchange rate dropped 6 colones in 1 week. According to the Central Bank of Costa Rica, last Monday the dollar was selling at 540 colones, while this Monday it is at 534. This being the lowest rate so far this year. At the bank counters, the dollar fluctuates between 535 and 540. This Monday, discussions began in the National Salaries Council on setting the minimum wage salaries for the private sector corresponding to the year 2024 was announced by the Department of Labor. Today, they heard the employee sector's proposal. On this Wednesday, October 18th. The employer's proposals will be presented and the state proposals will be presented on the Monday, October 23rd. The discussions and approvals are expected to occur on Wednesday, October 25th. Costa Rica was the second country, according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, with the lowest employment rate in the second quarter of this year. According to the comparisons, the country with the lowest rate of employment is Turkey with 53.6%, followed by Costa Rica with 59.3% and Italy with 61.3% of the population. At the unemployment level during August, Costa Rica was the fifth of this group of countries with the highest employment rate, with 8.8. Spain, Greece, Colombia, and Turkey reflected higher rates. Iceland and the Netherlands lead the table with 84.7% and 82.5% of the population between 15 and 64 years old who have a job. Due to the statements on China issued by the Minister of Science, Technology and Telecommunications, Paula Bogantes, the Minister of Telecommunications, Robert Vargas, before the Committee of International Relations and Foreign Trade, the Embassy of China in Costa Rica reported that it has taken note of what was said. In addition, they indicated that as senior officials in the government of Costa Rica, the comments were inappropriate about China's political system and basically called China a country with greatest risk in matters of cybersecurity. They also indicated that these statements seriously affect the trust and expectations of Chinese companies to carry out economic commercial activities in Costa Rica. On Saturday, the Golfito port began its cruise season with the arrival of two luxury ships called the Seaborn Venture and the MS Fridtjof Nansen. Both cruise ships visiting the country for the first time. The Seaborn Venture is an imposing ultra-luxury expedition cruise ship operated by the Seaborn Cruise Line. Its maiden voyage was in 2022, making it one of the newest in the Seaborn fleet. This ship is designed and built for diverse environments to PC6 Polar Class standards and includes a plethora of modern hardware and technology that expands the ship's global deployment and capabilities. It has capacity of 132 suites, all with a terrace overlooking the ocean, as well as a spa, laundry room, bar, all-inclusive restaurants, swimming pools, meeting rooms, 24 hours room service, a academic center for events. There are shops, coffee, bars, and gym. In addition, the ship has two custom-built submarines on board, providing an unforgettable excursion beneath the ocean surface. The ship also has double-sea kayaks, as well as 24 zodiacs that can accommodate all guests on board at once. On this particular voyage, the ship will make an 18-day trip It left Vancouver, Canada, visited the United States, Mexico, Panama, and Costa Rica, stopping in the ports of Golfito and Punta Arenas, where it disembarked and embarked passengers who arrived in Costa Rica days before and others who remain in Costa Rica to later leave via air. The Seaborne Venture continues her itinerary to Ecuador, Peru, and Chile, visiting several UNESCO World Heritage Sites and itineraries throughout Antarctica, the Arctic, the Caribbean, and South America. It is estimated that it arrived in Costa Rica with 175 passengers and 120 crew members. Companies that are registered as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises with the Ministry of Economy, Industry, and Commerce can apply for more benefits to support their development through the agreement made by the Minister of Economy and the Association of Composers and Musical Authors, ACAM. To grant this benefit, the ACAM will make a differentiation with ranges, that is, it will disaggregate companies according to their size, micro, small, or medium, which can result in the savings of up to 58% for smaller companies, and in the case of medium-sized companies, up to 10% on the monthly rate that they currently charge. This adjustment will come into effect as of December 1st and will benefit the companies that play music on their premises, such as restaurants, hair salons, and gyms. This is also an incentive for many other businesses to register as well. The initiative also aims to make more businesses aware of the importance of respecting and supporting the Costa Rican cultural sector. This benefit also includes the training for the MSME companies and for the general public on issues about the rights and duties of the people and companies in relation to the use of music as a differentiation element. Older adults who live in the canton of Nicoya in poverty or extreme poverty conditions can now benefit from the remission and exemption program to not have to pay the municipal taxes. To qualify for this benefit, you must meet the following requirements. Submit the request for condonations to the Municipal Services Platform, fill out a form, the municipality will consult the property rating of the taxpayer in the Sinuribe. The municipal will articulate with IMA so that people are analyzed and registered in the system to accredit their qualification. Interest parties should keep their property value updated. If the applicant is covered by the non-affectation or real property tax, the department will conduct the study and eliminate the charges. If there are debts for other services, they need to cancel. According to the municipality, the forgiveness applies to the principal amount owned by the elderly taxpayer for the real estate, that only, while the exemption does not apply to the payment of municipal services. And pay close attention if you are looking for a job, since on Tuesday, October 17th, the municipality of Cañas and Bretes, Costa Rica will host a job fair called Cañas Bretea or Cañas Work. At the fair, 150 jobs will be offered in areas such as administration, managers, IT, commercial, and operations. The fair will have recruiters from nationally recognized companies who will be receiving resumes. In addition, the companies will update their databases to consider bidders for future positions. The fair starts at 11 in the morning and ends around 3 in the afternoon. The Melico Salazar Popular Theater united its artistic programs and contributions for other institutions that develop performing arts to host the 2023 National Dance, Theater, and Circus Conference that started on October the 12th and ends on the 22nd in the communities of Desamparados and Pérez Celedón. This initiative aims to strengthen the access to the performing arts and to support the development, promotion, and circulation of products created by the performing arts sector. This conference features the participation of independent dance, theater and circus groups, accompanied by performances by the National Dance Company, University Dance and Open Dance, presentations by the San Jose Musical Band, and contributions from the National Theater Company. As reported, the programming of this conference was based on the call to the entire performing arts sector, which included the participation of more than 40 groups. This program also includes 16 venues between Desamparados and Pérez Celedón, 50 children's theater performances, 42 performances aimed at audiences of all ages, at 23 workshops, and 2 concerts. About 40 million colones has been invested into this conference. We are going to have now sports information because Saprissa made soccer history this Sunday, October the 15th, by winning the Latin America Championship of League of Legends. This is the second most important Latin American tournament in esports, and Los Morados defeated the champions of the Southern Regional League, the Argentinian team Primates, 3-0 in virtual football. Saprissa's eSports division is part of a new style of sports business where globally it is estimated that video games will generate more than $187 million by 2024. And also, the national Down syndrome soccer team conquered the Scepter in the Gallon Smiling Inclusion Tournament played in Querétaro, Mexico, after an excellent participation in the regular phase, 4 games, quarterfinals, semifinals, and final, in which they did not lose a single game. The tournament was played with a format of 4 quarters of 8 minutes, in which each quarter gives 1 point for a win or draw. In the grand final, the Cele faced the Gladiators of Mexico City and left with the title 4-0 after a 1-1 draw in the first quarter, a 3-0 win in the second, and a 2-0 win in the third, and closed with a score of 4-0 in the last quarter. For the first time in the history of Special Olympics, a selection team with Down syndrome players was taken to a tournament of this type. And good, but sadly, only 10 thousandths of a second was the difference for the Costa Rican Kenneth Tencio not to enter the final round of the BMX Freestyle World Cup that was held in China. In order to qualify for the final, the Tico had to be among the top 12. However, he finished in 13th place, just 10 thousandths of a second difference in the semi-final held on Saturday morning. Daniel Sandoval from the United States beat out Tencio with a time of 83.00. Tencio finished with a time of 82.90. The next test for Tencio will be at the Pan American Games in Chile, and he's always focused on the final goal, which is the Olympic Games in Paris next year. Well done, Tencio.
A different and fun podcast. From Monday to Friday at 3 p.m. and replay at 8 p.m. Political interviews, current affairs, sports, and conversation among friends. My program. Only here in TriVision Channel 36.
Thank you so much for continuing watching on 36 News. We are going to move now to the international field. Blinken crisscrosses Middle East in effort to stop Israeli-Hamas violence.
1 week after the brutal attacks by Hamas militants on Israel, Israeli forces massed along the border with Gaza after warning residents of Gaza City to leave so that they can destroy Hamas operating capacity. The United Nations and other international organizations warned that water is running out in Gaza and that asking some 1 million people to evacuate from northern Gaza in the middle of a war zone is dangerous and in some cases impossible. Amid the tensions, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken visited the United Arab Emirates as part of a 7-country tour to try to stop the violence from spreading. Blinken toured Abu Dhabi's Abrahamic Family House, an interfaith complex that opened in February, housing a mosque, a church, and a synagogue. Blinken signed a tile on the wall with the words, "Light in the Darkness." Earlier in the day, Blinken held talks with his Saudi counterpart in Riyadh. He again stressed that there can be no more business as usual with Hamas after the atrocities committed against Israeli civilians.
Hamas is not representative of the Palestinian people or their legitimate aspirations for the future. Hamas is a terrorist group. Its only agenda is to destroy the state of Israel and to murder Jews. And it's important that the entire world see it as such.
The Saudi foreign minister said it is important to condemn the targeting of civilians in any form, at any time, by anyone.
We need to work together to find a way out of this cycle of violence. This is something that we really, really need to focus on without a concerted effort to end this constant return to violence. It will always be the civilians that suffer first. It will always be civilians on both sides that end up paying the price.
Iran's foreign minister, Hossein Amir Abdullahian, called on Israel Saturday to stop its attacks on Gaza, warning that the war might expand to other parts of the Middle East if Hezbollah joins the battle, in what would make Israel suffer what he called a huge earthquake. The State Department said Blinken also reached out to his Chinese counterpart, Wang Yi, on Saturday and had a 1-hour phone conversation, emphasizing that it is in everyone's interest to do everything possible to keep the conflict from spilling over into other countries. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
With Israel ordering the evacuation of some 1 million Palestinian civilians from Gaza City within 24 hours, Secretary of State Antony Blinken has expanded his crisis talks from Israel and Jordan to include all the Gulf Arab countries and Egypt.
Residents of Gaza City packed their belongings and squeezed into cars or fled on foot Friday after Israel called for all civilians in Gaza City, roughly 1 million people, to leave the city and head to southern Gaza within 24 hours. One resident said Israel threw down leaflets saying everyone had to leave or be annihilated, and he asked why women and children had to be terrorized. Addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is a priority, U.S. President Joe Biden said during a speech on the economy in Philadelphia.
We can't lose sight of the fact that the overwhelming majority of Palestinians had nothing to do with Hamas and Hamas's appalling attacks, and they're suffering as a result as well.
United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres said Friday that conditions in Gaza have reached a new low.
Moving more than 1 million people across a densely populated war zone to a place with no food, water, or accommodation, when the entire territory is under siege, is extremely dangerous and in some cases simply not possible.
In Israel Friday, U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin demonstrated American solidarity with Israel after last week's brutal attacks by Hamas militants that prompted Israel to declare war on Hamas. Some 3,100 people have died this week in Israel and Gaza. Austin told reporters,
"Terrorists like Hamas deliberately target civilians, but democracies don't. This is a time for resolve and not revenge, for purpose and not panic, and for security and not surrender."
After his visit to Israel Thursday, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with Jordan's King Abdullah and Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Amman on Friday, before traveling on to Qatar. He was asked if he was worried that Israel was retaliating against Hamas in an emotional response it might later regret.
What Israel is doing is not retaliation. What Israel is doing is defending the lives of its people and, as I said, trying to make sure that this cannot happen again.
Blinken said the U.S. is focused on working with international organizations and partners in the region to establish what he called safe zones for Palestinian civilians. What these safe zones could look like is likely to be a topic of discussion on Saturday and Sunday, as Blinken holds talks in Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, and Egypt. Cindy Sain, VOA News.
In Los Angeles, members of the Palestinian and Jewish communities took the city streets in response to the unfolding situation in the Middle East.
As the war between Israel and the Palestinian militant group Hamas rages on, tens of thousands of people around the globe turned out publicly to show their support. In Los Angeles, the Israel Solidarity March was held Sunday near the Museum of Tolerance, where Karen Avital, who served in the Israeli military, said Israelis and Palestinians will not be able to live together until Hamas is eliminated.
At this point, we cannot. Not until Hamas is gone. We need to wipe them out. They need to be gone. That is supporting terrorism. We do not support terrorism. We do not want to live in fear, and we will never live in fear again, ever.
One attendee, Matt Rosenberg, said his cousin and her husband were killed in the October 7 attack on Israel by Hamas. He described the assault and how family members kept in contact with the couple's 16-year-old son during the assault.
A grenade exploded the door down. Terrorists rushed in. My cousin jumped on her 16-year-old son and took a bullet which went through her into his abdomen. He miraculously survived, lying under his mother's body for a number of hours. For the next 10 to 12 hours, my family was on the phone, on WhatsApp with their 16-year-old son, coaching him through the situation to make sure that he would not be discovered by the terrorists who came back to their house 3 times.
A day earlier, several thousand Palestinian Americans gathered in front of the Israeli consulate to protest the bombardment by Israel of Gaza Strip. Taura, a member of the Palestinian youth movement who asked not to use her last name for safety reasons, spoke of the oppression of Palestinians by Israel.
They have been denied basic human resources. They have been denied food, water, electricity, fuel, medicine, anything that you can really think of. They've been denied every aspect of human life due to this occupation and military colonization of Palestine.
Iqbal Thabet, who says she emigrated in 2002 from the Palestinian West Bank to the U.S., described growing up there.
They were firing their bullets on me going to my school when I was high school. Many times I went back home because I couldn't get to my school. I witnessed night raids in our village, taking young children, young youth, 14, 15 years old, to jail in front of their parents. And I witnessed my neighbor's house being taken down. I saw that when I was 6 years old. Just because some guys hid behind that house for some days throwing stones on Israeli military jeeps and tanks. Yeah, you're invading their village. What do you expect them to do?
While federal and state law enforcement agencies have been on alert for possible threats, the demonstrations in Los Angeles remained mostly peaceful. Jenny Adulo, VOA News, Los Angeles.
More than 20 Latin American countries are participating in China's Belt and Road Initiative, including through trade and building infrastructure projects.
From hydroelectric power plants to ports, China's footprint is growing in Latin America.
The engagement is enormous, it's growing, and it's evolving.
Through its Belt and Road Initiative, China has increased trade, built infrastructure, and established relations around the world. And observers have seen a significant acceleration in Beijing's engagement with Latin American leaders. There has been an increase in the flow of goods and in projects like this Chinese-built megaport in Peru.
Being a hub and being able to receive the world's largest fully loaded ships, it will be able to become the gateway to Asia and gateway from South America to Asia.
But the economic promise of Chinese projects has yet to materialize for some people, including Luis Herrera, who lives near this hydroelectric plant in Ecuador.
The hydroelectric project was going to generate tourism, attract more people to see the hydroelectric installation, but it didn't happen at all.
In 2022, 6 years after the plant was completed, more than 17,000 cracks appeared in the parts that conduct water to the turbines to generate electricity. The Chinese embassy said a third-party testing agency determined it was safe, according to a state media report. Despite obstacles such as this one, the country with the world's second-largest economy continues to engage with Latin America, and the reasons are multifold.
As part of its economic expansion, it needs a secure access to commodities, foodstuffs to feed 1.4 billion Chinese people, as well as access to markets and technology.
China also needs petroleum, of which Latin America has plenty, as well as minerals like lithium that are used in green technologies. Made up of parts of Chile, Bolivia, and Argentina, South America's lithium triangle holds about 68% of the world's reserves of the element, and it is where Chinese state-owned enterprises, or SOEs, are investing in mining the so-called white gold.
Chinese SOEs and others have taken the lead. And again, they've done so in a relatively intelligent, instrumental fashion, while at the same time the policies of coordinating with the private sector in Western countries, including the United States, have been a little bit less aggressive in that.
Analysts say the U.S. narrative about the region is often dominated by drugs and migrants, but China sees Latin America as a place of opportunity, and so does Latin America itself.
They don't want to be seen as a source of problems. They want to be seen as a source of opportunities. They see themselves as a source of opportunities, right? And so that is one shift that the U.S., I think, has yet to make, and that we could certainly benefit from making more.
Because observers say, as Latin American countries become more dependent on China through trade, diplomacy, and billions of dollars of debt, the region may move closer to China's worldview, one that is vastly different from that of Western democracies. Elizabeth Lee, VOA News.
And this is all the information that we prepared for you today. But before I go, I want to share with you an inspirational phrase so you can use it to inspire something in your life. For today, it says, the best index to a person's character is how he treats people who can't do him any good, and how he treats people who can't fight back. Who said that? Abigail Van Buren. And with this, we finish today's informative edition. Thank you so much for having to join us today. Remember just that whatever you do, you have to have fun, take care, but also help someone if you get the chance. I am Ricardo Acuña, and I'll be so happy to see you next time.